story recapped here. Today, I'm gonna explain a comedy and horror film called Society. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. One night, Bill arrives home at their mansion, feeling fearful. As he hears ominous laughter from within the house, he goes to the kitchen and grabs a knife. His fear grows bigger as the sounds of laughter persist, so he sits beside the door while clutching the knife towards him. Suddenly, the sounds stop as his mother finds him. The next day, he visits Dr. Cleveland, his therapist, and states that his life feels like a nightmare. He's scared of everyone, including his family and Dr. Cleveland. Bill feels like something wrong will happen, but his therapist tells him that it's just a phase. Because of his constant paranoia, he starts seeing things, such as a bunch of worms inside an apple that he just took a bite of. Back at their home, Bill plays basketball with his close friend Milo when they notice that Blanchard, his sister Jenny's ex-boyfriend, is at their place. Jenny tells Bill to get rid of Blanchard, but it's too late because Jenny notices that Blanchard is hiding inside her closet. When she screams, Blanchard pins her down so he can explain something to her. However, Bill immediately comes to the rescue and drags him out. Blanchard further tries to tell them that something weird is happening, but they don't listen to him and throw him out. While Jenny is getting ready for her coming out party, Bill can't come because he must attend his basketball game. However, there seems to be much more to the exclusion because their parents don't seem to care much for Billy as they do for Jenny. Furthermore, when Jenny asks Bill to zip up her dress, he notices something bulge out of her back, but dismisses it as a weird occurrence. At their school, Bill is currently in a debate against Martin because they're both running for student body president. However, Bill gets distracted because Clarissa starts showing him a view of her underpants. Of course, this makes Bill's actual girlfriend, Shauna, mad. Afterward, Bill goes straight to Dr. Cleveland and happily tells him that he won the debate and the basketball game. So Dr. Cleveland congratulates Bill. Despite his successes, Bill still feels like his family doesn't care about him. Bill points out that he feels like he's adopted, but Dr. Cleveland tells him he's being paranoid. Back at home, Bill goes inside Jenny's bathroom to ask for lotion, but suddenly, his eyes catch Jenny's silhouette through the blurry bathroom mirror and notice that her body is oddly distorted. He opens the bathroom door to double-check his confusion, but what greets him is a normal-looking Jenny that tells him to get out. When Bill goes to tell his parents that he's going to the beach, they just shake him off, not really caring about Bill because they're more focused on the things that are important to them. Obviously not Bill. Before going to the beach, he notices something strange in his car, a male doll with a screw on his head. Although weirded out, Bill just shrugs it off. At the beach, he spends time with Shauna, but she's more focused on getting an invitation to Ted's party, one of the popular guys. She even forces Bill to talk to Ted, but before he could do so, a group of kids harasses them with their lotion, so Bill chases them down. Because of this, Bill comes across Clarissa and is obviously attracted to her. Still, Bill follows Shauna's request. However, his talk with Ted doesn't go as smoothly because Ted pretends there's no party. When Bill notices that Shauna is gone, he just walks away, but Blanchard chases after him. Still, he's adamant about talking to Bill because he discovered something suspicious. Right away, Blanchard makes Bill listen to a tape recording of Jenny's coming out party, but Bill is mad because Blanchard bugged his family. However, when Bill starts listening to the recording, he gets frustrated. Bill's paranoia gets solidified when he hears suspicious things happening on the tape. First, he's able to validate that his family is indeed alienating him. Furthermore, Jenny's coming out party was just full of people getting freaky with each other while Jenny gets intimate with Ted. Meanwhile, Bill's family notices the listening device planted on them and is even able to point out that it was Blanchard's doing. Afterward, Bill gets angry at Blanchard, thinking he manipulated the recording. But still, Bill takes the tape and goes straight to Dr. Cleveland. Bill insists on listening to the tape together, but his therapist tells him to go back tomorrow because he's currently busy. However, Bill is adamant, so he just leaves the tape to Dr. Cleveland. The next day, Bill tells Shauna about the tape, but Shauna is still focused on getting an invite to Ted's party. Because of this, they argue and break up. Milo tries to approach him, but Bill is too caught up in his problems and ignores him. When he notices a doll's head in his locker, he doesn't even pay attention. Right away, Bill goes back to Dr. Cleveland about the tape. However, when they listen to it together, it sounds like a normal party. Further looking like he's paranoid, Dr. Cleveland prescribes medicine to Bill, but he refuses to take it. Bill calls Blanchett for another copy of the tape to further provide evidence. Immediately, he meets up with Blanchett, but everything is too late because he comes across a car wreck, finding out that Blanchett is dead. While the EMT carries the body inside the ambulance, Bill checks the belongings left inside the vehicle. However, the police don't let him take anything because it's evidence. Furthermore, they tell him to leave. Back at home, Bill gets an invitation to Ted's party, but when he mentions Blanchett's death, nobody cares. Not even Jenny, even though they were exes. At the party, things seem to be normal at first. Bill even starts dancing with Clarissa, something that Shauna's friend notices before leaving. Suddenly, Milo comes by and asks Bill about Blanchett, but once more, Bill brushes him off because he's more preoccupied with other things. He follows Clarissa inside a tent, where he finds Ted and his goons. There, Ted admits that the tape was real, and that he had done it with Jenny. Alongside that, Ted also confesses to sabotaging Blanchett. They start fighting, but they just throw Bill into the pool. Once more, Clarissa approaches Bill with ulterior motives and invites him back to her house. Right away, they don't waste any time getting intimate. However, Bill notices strange distortions in Clarissa's body that make him pull away, but when he double checks again, her body is normal. Meanwhile, Shauna is outside, heartbroken that Bill started seeing other people, something that she suggested herself. On the other hand, Clarissa's mom gets home, which scares Bill because they were caught getting intimate on the couch. But Clarissa doesn't seem fond of her mother because she's a bit of a weirdo. When Bill tries to shake her hand, Clarissa's mom just hands him a hairball from herself. The next day, Bill finds a blow-up inside his car, just as Shauna confronts him about Clarissa. Because of this, Shauna leaves him for real, but Bill shrugs this off and confronts his family about the doll, blaming them for the weird things happening to him. However, his family feigns innocence, not knowing what he's talking about. Furthermore, they keep calling him paranoid. Still, Bill is catching on to the fact that he might actually be adopted, so Bill finally blows up and starts swearing at them. Moreover, he tells them that he's moving out. At Blanchett's funeral, Milo and Bill pay their respects together. However, Milo points out that Blanchett's body looks weird. Then, he pokes the corpse's face, which cracks. Suddenly, Martin approaches Bill to tell him about what's going on with his life. However, he requires the utmost confidentiality and asks to meet him somewhere else at night. When Bill arrives at their meetup spot, he starts looking for Martin, not realizing that Milo is following him behind. However, Milo sees someone driving away from the site when Bill goes into the woods. Furthermore, Bill is already too late because he finds Martin dead inside his car. His fear heightens when he hears someone laughing around him. Immediately, he goes to confront the unidentified perpetrator, but the person ends up running away from him. So Bill goes to see Clarissa and the police to report the incident. However, they don't find anything. Aside from the car changing, they don't find the body either. Because of this, Bill gets a warning from the police to stop messing around. The next day, Bill is still on a mission to find out the truth, so he confronts Jenny, but she's still feigning innocence. Once the debate starts between Bill and Martin, his opponent is nowhere to be found, so Bill tells everyone about Blanchett's undeserving death. Furthermore, he tells everyone that Martin is already dead as well. However, Martin suddenly arrives, fine and well. Because of this, the audience laughs at Bill's madness. Due to that, he walks out, but Milo follows him immediately. First, Milo apologizes because he was the one playing pranks on Bill and putting the dolls in his belongings. But he mentions that he followed Bill on his meetup and saw Martin, along with Ted, seemingly working together. Because of this, Bill starts feeling validated with his theories, but he confronts Milo about the dolls. With that, Milo admits that it's because Bill has been shrugging him off lately. Thankfully, the two friends are able to set their differences aside and work together in solving this mystery. With a newfound purpose, Bill goes home to confront his family once more, with Milo following closely behind. However, his family is with Dr. Cleveland and immediately subdues Bill. With everyone surrounding Bill, they inject him with a substance that knocks him out cold. Outside, Milo notices the ambulance bringing Bill to the hospital, so he follows right away. However, when he gets there, the nurse tells him that Bill is already dead, but Milo finds this suspicious, not believing the information and leaves. True enough, Bill is still alive. Suddenly, he wakes up, hearing Blanchett screaming, and sees shadows behind the curtains. But when he goes to check, nobody is there. Outside, Bill and Milo encounter each other in the parking lot, but Bill noticeably acts differently. Bill is now carefree because he realizes that all his fears are true, but Milo is still worried because he knows that Bill is getting set up, especially after being pronounced dead despite despite being alive. The first thing that Bill does is confront Clarissa, thinking that she's also part of it, so she warns Bill not to come home. However, he doesn't listen to her warnings. Also, Bill drives away and leaves Milo behind, so Milo follows him with Clarissa's mom, who insists on coming along. Back at home, everything is dark and the lights won't turn on. Furthermore, there wasn't anyone around. Still, Bill walks around with a knife in his hands, finally starting to hear laughs and seeing the arrival of his parents. However, Bill is immediately ambushed when almost the entirety of their upper-class residents appear to pin him down. Everyone starts laughing at him, and his parents reveal that Bill is not one of them. Moreover, their leader, Judge Carter, admits that they're a different species from everyone else, even from Bill, so he starts calling them aliens. They continuously drag him around by the neck when suddenly Clarissa arrives, part of the whole shtick. However, she's noticeably guilty about it. Meanwhile, Milo and Clarissa's mom are still scoping the place when suddenly they see someone getting escorted inside by the EMT, so Milo plans to go inside with Clarissa's mom. Inside, it turns out that Blanchett is the other victim, apparently still alive. Right away, people start unclothing to prepare for Blanchett's shunting. Furthermore, Judge Carter announces that Bill is gonna be next, so Ted makes Bill watch what they do to Blanchett. Everyone surrounds Blanchett and starts morphing with his body, taking nutrients from the poor boy by physically deforming his body, all while he's still alive. Meanwhile, Milo and Clarissa's mom attack one of the guards so they can sneak inside. Afterward, when the guard is down, Milo takes the uniform so he can pass unnoticed. Back inside, Judge Carter finishes off Blanchett by driving his arm straight inside his bottom and out his mouth. While everyone is distracted, Clarissa takes the opportunity to free Bill, but everyone blocks his path. Because of this, he decides to hide upstairs, but Dr. Cleveland is hot on his tail. Furthermore, Dr. Cleveland's head starts morphing into a hand as he reaches out for Bill. When Bill hides inside his parents' bedroom, he notices his mother's disfigurement. She starts coming close to Bill and suddenly sees that Jenny is inside her mother. Meanwhile, Bill's father appears with his face on his butt. Scared, Bill runs away, but Dr. Cleveland is waiting for him and immediately catches Bill. Downstairs, everything is just a huge amalgamation of bodily horror, scaring Milo. Meanwhile, Clarissa refuses to participate. When Dr. Cleveland finally brings Bill downstairs, he immediately saves Clarissa from them. Furthermore, he proposes to fight Ted, so everyone morphs back to their human-like bodies after consuming Blanchett so that they can watch the fight. The two start hitting each other, but Ted is gaining the upper hand against him. Because he notices that Bill is losing, Milo starts calling toward him, alerting everyone of his existence. Right away, they start beating him up as well. Ted tries to attack Clarissa, but her mom comes to her rescue and tackles Ted, so he goes back to hitting Bill. Everyone takes hold of Bill so that Ted can finish him off, but Bill manages to turn the tides. When Ted starts melding with him, Bill reaches inside his guts and turns him inside out. Because of this, everyone starts to move away from Bill out of fear. With that, he escapes with Milo and Clarissa.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.